What is up, entrepreneurs? You are tuned into the Non-Corporate Network. You are watching Entreprenews, a show where Dustin and I debate the top 6 trending small business stories for 3 minutes apiece. Peach.
It's Monday.
I'm thinking of fruit this morning. 3 minutes apiece. We each give our take, and then we move into the rest of our day. Dustin, do you have anything you want to add about the format or Non-Corporate Network?
Yeah, so the Non-Corporate Network, it's for entrepreneurs by entrepreneurs. Man, it is a Monday.
Red leather, yellow leather.
Yeah, the whole goal is, we love business, we love entrepreneurship, and all we want to do is help bring unbiased news, with what we're doing. And so,
yes, sir. Well, we should probably get into our first story before we keep fumbling our words. Starting it off, Dan Bilzerian, been in the news. His cannabis business, Ignite, burned through $50 million, took a net loss of $50 million, I think it was, $22 million in marketing budget alone. This is crazy, man. I think that, the point that I want to kind of dive into is not as much Dan Bilzerian focused, but really just in general, are businesses having problems burning through the cash? I know right now, it kind of seems like funny money that we're playing with between PPP loans and grants. Is this something that is going to transcend more businesses with some cash flow that they maybe weren't used to having with different kinds of loans and funding and debt that they're taking on?
Yeah, it's when it comes to like personal finances, most people aren't that great at it, and that translates into business as well. And it's just like anything. If you don't have a plan of attack or a strategy on how you're going to use those funds or the monies, you're going to burn through them. And it's it's kind of insane. We live in a time where so much is so trackable. What you're doing. If you put the data together, you can see what's driving the ROI, where you're losing money. Man, it's crazy. You blow through 20 million on marketing. Yeah,
it was 22 million on marketing, but 43 million in losses that they took. And that was just through rent and paying executives, paying influencers. So obviously, like, these expenses are stacking up a lot. And I know that, marketing, and we're marketers, you want to invest more into marketing to grow your business, but having a trackable ROI is something that, oftentimes is going to be absolutely important. When you have multiple different marketing channels, you're looking for attribution across those channels. So I personally think that this is just a case of we didn't have enough things that we were tracking. We didn't have enough KPIs that we were really trying to hit. And when you're spending, $200,000 a month just on rent, those expenses stack up quick. And, oftentimes you don't really realize it until the damage has been done. You get kind of comfortable with your budget. So, I think the attribute. Do you have any tips on the attribution or how you can kind of?
Yeah, what it comes down to is trying to figure out what's really driving the sales, and not so much that last touch point. But where are people seeing the brand for the first time, and of those places they're seeing the brand, where are they then later going and converting? But really, what it comes down to, we deal with it with small business quite a bit. Whenever it's like, all right, well, where do you want to spend your marketing dollars? It's like, well, I don't really know, and that's it translates into everything business wise. Like, do we
disintegrate? Yeah, it always tie together.
Yeah, and it's if you don't have the the knowledge or discipline to stick with a budget and figure out how to create a budget that is going to drive ROI, it's bringing in that expert help is what's going to help. But it's VC money. There was quite a bit of it. Now I think it's probably going to be drying up with the current situation, and it'll be interesting to see how many businesses can make it.
Well, hopefully this is a good learning for businesses. Their stock has plummeted 70%. Like I said, 43 million in losses, and it's just something where you can't go raise more money when your valuation falls as much as it has. Investors aren't going to want to jump in, and so for you as a business, if you're raising, you need to make sure that you're continuing to increase your valuation. The more you lose, the less you're going to be poised for, more investing and growth. But getting into our next story, the massive Twitter breach that happened a couple days ago, Elon Musk's account, Joe Biden's account, Barack Obama, Kanye West, just to name a few, were all hacked on Twitter with a message saying, send me $1,000 in Bitcoin and I will send you back $2,000 in Bitcoin. I think this really kind of shows the writing on the wall that we're living in a society where we talk about the data security a lot, but a breach like this really puts it in perspective that no one's really safe. Whether it's Twitter, whether it's these specific people's accounts, no one's really safe, and it's just a matter of kind of sweeping it under the rug and hoping it doesn't happen again. So, what are your thoughts on this whole breach, and what can we do moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, it's it goes to show what can be done. I mean, luckily it was what it was. I mean, granted, $1,000, people got burned out of that money, but I mean, they could have created some deep fakes like we discussed on a previous episode, but taken over Trump's account and then started saying a bunch of stuff about China or other countries, and it could have started, a huge World War III. Right. I mean, outside of that, what's even more interesting is this all happened internally. So someone worked with employees to then give them access to these different accounts. And so it's not like they just came in blindly. And so that opens up a whole lot of can of worms.
Everybody has a price.
Exactly. And I mean, as more high profile people are using social media to kind of communicate their values and what they're all about. I mean, how do you think Twitter, social channels can prevent that internal?
Well, I think the same thing was happening with Instagram. They had this black market of verifications where you'd pay certain employees at Instagram, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, and then you'd get the blue check mark. Life was good. I think the same kind of thing is happening. And so part of it is just a responsibility for employers to make sure they're taking care of their employees. They're hiring the right people. They're asking the right questions. But over $121,000 was generated off of this just among those accounts. Over 50% of that came from the US. So I think those are things that are interesting. $121,000 is just kind of scratching the surface of obviously what we think could have been done here if they did a better job, more personalized job. But I think that, it's a good thing in my opinion, because they didn't really, like I said, only $121,000, and it really kind of exposed Twitter and hopefully kind of raises the awareness of these social media companies to go, listen, you have a responsibility and no one is bulletproof here. And obviously we talk about, the breaches in cybersecurity internationally. Russia is all up on that. So is South Korea or North Korea. And so, I think that it's something where we really need to kind of, learn from this and, hopefully set ourselves up better.
Yeah. I mean, probably the best case scenario for what could have happened. I mean, but it definitely gets the mind wondering other people on how they, is that easy? Gives them ideas. I mean,
right. Yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see, how they respond to that. Obviously beefing up security is probably a good call. Okay. Into our next story. As outbreak spreads beyond big cities, Lowe's looks to help rural small businesses serve customers in new ways. This is nothing new. A lot of businesses come out and created different kinds of programs, but I think Lowe's did a pretty good job. They're going to donate $25 million to small business grants in rural communities specifically, as well as an additional $30 million to minority-owned businesses. I think that's kind of interesting. Obviously, we talk about the triple P kind of being unfairly distributed, not really focusing on the rural areas, not really focusing on the minority-owned businesses. The other thing that they mentioned is the home improvement retailer will also turn a few stores and parking lots into drive-in movie theaters, as well as other kinds of community activities to kind of try to create, more of a community within their town, within their city. What do you think about this?
Nah, I love it. Good job, Lowe's. I mean, everyone's looking to the government for help when it's everyone can kind of agree that the government doesn't have the best plan of attack. Typically, they kind of just roll with it and then make adjustments later. And, it's the businesses are the ones that need consumers. And so if you're going to help consumers, it's going to shine a great light on your brand. I mean, it doesn't seem like there's anything in here that's all they're doing it for, which is good. I do like the creating, using the parking lot to create a drive-in movie theater. I brought it up on previous episodes. I think that's what's going to help get more foot traffic into these brick and mortars. I mean, not necessarily just the movies, but just creating more experiences. And that's where if you have kids, they can go and play. But you're kind of creating some type of scenario where people are going to come in and then naturally they're going to go shop. But I mean, what are your thoughts on everything that they're doing?
Yeah, no, I mean, I used to go to a summer camp in Crossville, Tennessee, tiny little town in Tennessee. And a lot of the people that lived in the town, their big Saturday night plans were to get lawn chairs and sit in the parking lot at Walmart. And like, I know that that's a thing in a lot of places, especially rural places. And, you know, Lowe's can be that kind of outlet that, you know, a lot of these people in rural areas, they're doing a lot of the construction themselves. They're doing a lot of the home improvement themselves. And, you know, there's not as many small businesses and businesses that can serve them. And so I think that they've done a really strategic job of going, listen, we need to be kind of this place where people can come together and kind of share experiences. And the same thing Shake Shack did in New York, where it was like, it was less about the food and more about the community and just the conversations. And so I think that, you know, it's an interesting play, but, you know, maybe taking it further than just drive-in movies. I think that's kind of cliche now.
I mean, it's the amount of opportunity is endless. I mean, you can create rock climbing walls, you can have gaming centers. I mean, I think what brick and mortar stores are going to look like is going to be completely changed in the next 5 to 10 years. It's going to have to, in order to be able to compete with e-commerce stuff.
It takes more than just what's on your shelves to get people to have an affinity to your business now.
Exactly.
Before we get into our next story, I just want to mention that we are powered by State 48. State 48, you guys are amazing. Check them out, state48.com. Dustin, do you have anything you want to mention about them?
Yeah, clothing for all, inspired by Arizona. They, they have great clothing, but they also do a lot of work within the community, partner with a lot of nonprofits where part of the proceeds go to that charitable event donation. So check them out, state48.com.
Awesome cause. Love it.
Awesome. On to our next story. So 66% of people working from home say that they are getting on and starting work earlier and then checking out a bit later. Even more so, 49% think that their boss actually trusts them, meaning 51%, more than half people, don't think that their boss trusts what they're doing and getting stuff done. So, I mean, we have kind of a weird scenario where people are working longer, but they don't think their boss or organization are really seeing the results and efforts. I mean, what do you think this is going to do for the long-term mental health of things? I mean, you got people that are working harder, so you got burnout, but then you got people that have trust issues. And I mean, where's this all gonna play out?
Yeah, it's anxiety, I think, is a huge part of this, right? People are worried that, maybe my boss doesn't think I'm getting enough done. And part of it too is that when you're at home, you just can't have the same kind of work day that you can at the office. I mean, I know that I've notoriously kind of been somebody that's split time between the office, between my house, and, you know, not everyone is cut from the same cloth in the sense that some people can just kind of go tunnel vision no matter where they're at. Other people need that kind of environment, that collaborative feeling, that kind of place that doesn't have any distractions. And it makes sense when you got kids running around, when you're trying to make dinner and, there's just so many distractions. You got the TV on in the background, your friends calling you on your cell phone. You have to take a personal call. Like it's just a different environment. So, but I think it is kind of detrimental to our health that we're in the back of our minds always going, well, does my boss trust me? Well, does my boss trust me? I think there needs to be some kind of mechanism for accountability there.
I mean, there's plenty of programs out there that can help with that. I think it all comes down to communication and clearly outlining deliverables, objectives. I mean, it's like, you're going to get these 3 things done. I mean, we do our scrum meetings and it's here's what we're going to get done. And it's just trusting one another. But I think the thing that makes it difficult right now is even if you want to work from home pre-COVID, I mean, you could always go to a coffee shop, sit down and work. You can go out, get out of the house and still work, be around people. But that's where, we're missing right now as well. It's like, not only do you have to work from home, you literally can't go out and do anything. Yeah. And so, I mean, I think it's just not going to be good on the mental side of things, but I think it is up to employers and bosses to really see that, the writing's on the walls, that this is happening and set up some type of solution, whether it's daily check-ins or weekly check-ins, whatever that may be. But
Well, I think it is healthy though, the flexibility on the calendar. I mean, the fact that, almost a fifth of the people are citing that, hey, I'm starting earlier, I'm ending later, I'm taking a 2-hour break in the middle of my day. Like, let people work in the way that they want to, let them energize themselves in the way that they want to. And so I think that that's something that we can all learn from this, whether we go back to an office setting or not, is, hey, let your employees have a little bit of flexibility in terms of when they're spending time working. Yep.
So going on to our next story, and this is pretty much in line with what we just talked about. Employees want to return to a physical workplace. 36% of people prefer to work from home, while 43% want to get back to the office. The main reasons are they say they can't count on colleagues delivering stuff whenever they say they will. So it cuts into productivity and efficiency. They just miss feeling, being around other people. And that's the biggest thing, the power of collaborating and just bouncing ideas off each other. A lot of people just feel that it's just not as productive and what is this going to have? I mean, I know we just talked about the flexibility, but I mean, once we get past this, is there going to be more of an opportunity of mixing up working from home and at the office? Or?
I'm telling you, you could check the tape, Dustin. A couple weeks ago, we were talking about this. Probably 3 weeks ago, we were talking about this. And back then it was sunshine and rainbows, and 60% of people want to work from home. And now it's like slowly this trend is starting to erode a little bit, right? People are starting to realize, well, this is a fun 2-month vacation. And now I can't stand my kids. I can't stand my husband. I can't stand my house. And it's just like, when we're alienating ourselves, it's only a matter of time. We need human interaction. It's part of our needs as individuals. It's part of our needs as being humans. And so I look at this and I really think that, the honeymoon phase is over, and, maybe a couple days at the house is great. But as you mentioned, getting out and changing up the scenery is something that always helps me to feel creative and inspired. And, just sitting in the same room, doing the same thing over and over again, there's only so much you can do before the productivity really drops off. And I think we've hit a plateau, and we're about to start working our way back down in terms of how much productivity working from home can really do for you.
Yeah. And even then, I mean, some of the things that people are saying is just colleagues not getting their work done. I mean, even if we do get back and then we split time, I mean, that type of stuff still happen. Yeah. I mean, it's how can businesses overcome that? I mean, you still have some people that want it, they love it, and then they are more productive doing that. But how do you ensure that stuff is still going to get done?
Ownership in the business. If you're a small business, why not? I think that there's a lot of different ways you can go about doing something where people feel like they're a part of it, whether it's an incentive baked into a commission, whether it's an incentive baked into the profitability of the business, but using those kind of it's like levers is something that can definitely help to just keep people inspired and motivated and holding themselves accountable, where it stops mattering how much time they're spending. It's like, is the objective getting done? Do I feel like I'm progressing? So I think that's one way that as business owners, especially small business owners, can really incentivize their employees.
I think this is where the great employers are really going to shine, because it's 100%. Man, there are 20 curveballs thrown all at once, and you're going to have those that sit back and hit every single one of them. You're going to have people that kind of whiff at every single one.
But hey, you used to throw the curveballs. You can't just swing right when it leaves the pitcher's hand. You got to watch the ball all the way to the bat, and so I think that those people that are going to try to swing too early, you're going to miss out.
Exactly. So going into our final story. So to give businesses more curveballs to try and hit, there's a shortage in coins. I never thought I'd ever hear that. I mean, you never have a shortage of coins, but what's it attributed to is people out shopping less. Back a few months ago, the Fed, so how it works is businesses will ask the banks for coins. Coins will then ask the Feds, and the Feds halted production on coins with all the craziness going on. So the Treasury Department in May produced about 904 million coins, which is down 13% the previous month. Knowing everything that's going on, they said they're going to up production over the course of through the rest of the year and be producing about 1.35 billion coins per month. The only way that businesses can really overcome this is you have to have exact change, or just take digital currency, as in using your debit card, whatever it may be. I mean, what we're seeing now, is this going to expedite digital currency, or what are your thoughts on just this whole coin shortage?
I mean, get rid of the coins.
No one loves having a pocket full of pennies.
I think it's interesting. It costs more to produce the coins than they're even worth. I mean, I think in 20 years, you could be selling some coins on eBay. So maybe hold on to them. But I truly don't think that coins are going to be around for much longer, unless you're talking about Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, in which case I'm very bullish on us transitioning into that as a digital currency, whether it be one of the big players or a new cryptocurrency pops up. But there's already plans of like Visa, Western Union, all these different companies are creating their own kind of digital currencies. And it just, the writing's on the wall. It's a matter of how quickly consumers will adopt. It took 50 years for 80% of consumers to adopt the color television. But it's going to take, a year for us to adopt, a digital currency when the time comes. But it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I always go back to how we're all going to be tracked. Every transaction is going to be tracked. Then, I mean, you kind of, granted, you should be reporting your taxes if you're doing a babysitting gig and get paid on the table. I mean, by law, you're supposed to. But I mean, that helps a lot of young people out to kickstart, their finances and stuff like that. And so it's weird that the Fed halted production or slowed production down, and it's like, was it an attempt to cause this type of disruption and then push the digital, so now we can track everything and tax people more? I mean, we're sitting on a couple $1 trillion of bailouts, and pretty soon gonna have to start paying that. And so it's like,
well, the inflation is going to keep rising. I don't think anything's stopping us from just going to whole numbers.
And see, that's where I think it's at. It's like, why do things got to be $7.99? Let's just make it $8.
I mean, it'll be interesting to see, but yeah, as you mentioned, just being able to track your every move, you're pushing everything to digital. Now, every transaction, where cash, those things aren't tracked nearly as much. And, you can make the argument that it's going to eliminate some kind of nefarious activities, but at the same time, who knows? There's just as much craziness no matter where you're looking at. But yeah, no, I think it's hard to ignore the Twitter in terms of my story that it stands out to me. It's hard to ignore that, that many different accounts all being hacked. I think collectively their reach was like over like almost 100 million followers across all of the accounts that were hacked. Like, it's a huge number. So I think that's insane.
Yep. Dan Bilzerian burning through all that cash. That's it blows my mind. But I mean,
everybody wanted to be him. I don't think anybody wants to be him now.
There are quite a few businesses out there that could probably take a little finance 101 course. But I think with what's going on, managing cash flow is going to be a huge need that business owners have.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate you guys sticking around. Again, you've been watching Entreprenews. I almost said ESPN. Where you're watching Entreprenews on the non-corporate network, a combination of CNBC and ESPN. And we really just appreciate you guys being here. If you want to start your own show, check out ncnbroadcast.com. We want to share our resources with you. We want to bring unfiltered, unbiased news to the world, small business information to the world. So if you feel like you fit that bill, we want to work with you. Dustin, do you have anything you want to add?
Yep. No, I mean, we just want to help pass on education, help people do what they absolutely love. And so please reach out.
Content by entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs. With that, get out of here. Go get some work done, whether you're at home or in the office. We appreciate you.
We'll see you Wednesday.
Peace.